What is up, my ducks and drakes? Welcome to the Crawdad Lake. Today, we are reading The Trash Man and the Snake Boi by SimplyAThought on Wattpad. If you'd like to read the book or look at the author, the links will be in the description below. And if you want, there's going to be a new link in the description below where I give you the option to submit fics that you either wrote yourself or you just want me to read. You'll be able to submit just anything you want me to read, and I'll go ahead and read it because I've been running out of fics and I know you guys know about a lot more fics than I do, so hopefully that will be utilized so I could read what you guys want me to read. With that, on with the story. Summary. After Virgil left, Remus and Deceit were almost alone. They now had to get their shit together to protect Thomas in the best way that they could, making life miserable. It was hard, being hated by everyone and being alone, but at least they had each other now, right? And they had to keep the thing at bay so no one else knew about it. Orange is by far their least favorite color in the rainbow. Chapter 1. The Plan. Remus was wandering through the imagination, bored out of his mind. Deceit didn't want to talk to him, since he was busy planning. The two dark sides had two top priorities. Number 1, transiting Thomas. Number 2, get Virgil back. Why these two? That's very complicated, and I'm definitely not going to spill the tea in the first chapter, maybe second or third, but not the first. Now, where were we? Right. Remus was walking through the imagination. He created a few monsters here and there to get his mind off of stuff and try to ignore the headache he was getting from thinking too much. He could not even think of how Logan thinks this much. This shit hurt. Was he getting strong painkillers? Did he use thinking as an excuse to take painkillers? Was he addicted? Probably. Remus groaned when he noticed that nothing helped and returned to his castle, kicking a stone in front of him like a pouted child. The man entered the giant black building and was ready to go back to his room, but got interrupted on the way. He heard her voice. No one was supposed to be in here. Why does it have to make everything so complicated? A voice mumbled. Deceit? Who is he talking about? Remus decided to eavesdrop at his friend. Where is he? Thomas is filming now. We need to prepare for the plan. Deceit was talking about him? I told him to stay here. Can't he do as he's been told one time in his life? Ouch. Damn idiot. Why did this hurt so much? Sure, Deceit often joked a little like that with Remus, but hearing his best and only friend talk about him like this behind his back, it hurt him more than he liked, and he usually liked pain, but not this pain. This pain hurt him, so he decided to stop this by laughing and turning around the corner. You need to chill, Snakey. I'm right here. Deceit turned to look at him and sighed. Come with me. I've got a plan. The man led the way out of the imagination while talking. Tonight you will do what you do best. You'll give Thomas intrusive thoughts, as I know Virgil and Patton. They won't be fond of your doing and react that way. Thus, Thomas won't get enough sleep to record properly, and he'll disappoint his fans. That way, he will feel guilty long enough for me to come up with another plan. Sure thing, Snake Boi. I'll be off then. Remus grinned, clapping like a little child, and disappeared into the real world. As soon as he wasn't with Deceit anymore, his grin fell, and his face became one that showed his deep thoughts. Thinking about what Deceit said, he quickly shook his head. No, he would eavesdrop a few more times, and then he will see that this was a misunderstanding. Yes, that's what he'll do. But for now, the man crouched down under Thomas's bed and woke him up, keeping him up the whole night with intrusive thoughts. Chapter 2. Failure. After this was done, he reappeared at home. Remus was just as tired as Thomas, since he, too, was awake all night. He yawned and wanted to go back to bed, but Deceit got in the way. Good, you're back. I was wondering how long this would take. Come on. It's time for phase 2. Remus tilted his head in confusion. Phase 2? Deceit rolled his eyes and sighed, annoyed as if it was the most obvious thing in the world. Remus decided to ignore that. It was like deciding to clean your room tomorrow, and then deciding you'll do it the day after, and then the day after until your parents walk into your room and tell you to clean it, or they'll do it themselves, which you don't want because then they'll find your heroin. Not like that was something Remus ever did. No, totally not. So it was that kind of decide. Anyways, Deceit went on with phase 2. In case he still films his video, you need to interrupt. Understood? Do whatever you want. Just make the video flop. Remus nodded, suppressing a groan. He appeared hidden behind the TV to listen into the conversation. If he had to interrupt, he would do it with style. That was probably one of the things that showed he was related to Roman. They both had the thing for that. So he eavesdropped on the gang. When he decided it was time, Remus summoned his morning star and started climbing dramatically behind the TV. He started grinning and knocked his twin unconscious, making everyone scream. He should do this more often. As time went by, everything turned out fine in the end, thanks to Mr. Smartass. Remus reappeared home, but hidden. He didn't mean to fail the mission, but wanted to know what Deceit had to say about this behind his back nonetheless. One simple job. He heard a dull sound. Deceit just hit the wall. If you want something done, right, you have to do it yourself, the snake grumbled. If he keeps messing up, we will never get the orange motherfucker calm. Remus looked down at his lap. He knew it. Why did he always fuck up? No. Remus quickly shook his head to not let the thoughts get to him. The man didn't want to face his best. To see right now. So Remus just went to his room, locked his door, and started listening to music. Right now, playing his favorite, Crazy Equals Genius by Panic at the Disco. Chapter 3. Orange. It's a shitty color. Today the two had a meeting with him. Deceit didn't say anything about what happened, simply greeted Remus the next morning when they ate. Remus and Deceit walked down the long hallway and stopped in front of an orange and black door. Deceit knocked twice before they entered. The room was dark. It looked like a mixture of a dungeon, a throne room, and an interrogation room. Everything was black. Only the cushion on the throne was orange, which really stood out. The only source of light was a single orange light bulb. Well, 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 what do we have here? A dark, echoey voice whispered in the shadows that surrounded them. You failed. If you keep that up, I'm going to break our pact and do the job myself. It wasn't even our fault if Mr. Smartass didn't enough. The voice boomed, so Remus kept quiet again. I don't want to hear your silly excuses. I give you a month. If you don't manage to do something until then, I'll do it myself. Now out. Remus and Deceit obeyed the order and left the room. That was Thomas's orange side. Depression. He was the most dangerous one. He couldn't just harm Thomas mentally, but also physically, and if he got strong enough, even kill him. So Remus and Deceit made a deal with him. If they are the bad guys to ruin Thomas's life, Depression wouldn't have to. Depression appeared after Virgil left. You see, Thomas's mind was balanced. 3 dark sides, 3 light sides. When Virgil left, it was 3 light sides, 2 dark sides, and 1 gray. To keep the balance, Thomas needed a new dark side, and this orange fucker took his job way too seriously. That's why they have these priorities. Number 1, Terrence Thomas, so Depression wouldn't do it. Number 2, get Virgil back so Depression would disappear again. You had to fuck it up this time, didn't you? Remus' head shot up and looked directly at Deceit. I didn't. Shut up. Deceit, just hear me out. I said shut up. It was merely a growl. But Deceit! Both of them were shocked at what just happened. Remus's face had turned to its right, and a red handprint started to form on his cheek. He didn't move. He didn't say anything. He just stared the way his head was facing now. Deceit looked at him in shock. He didn't mean to slap him. He didn't mean to hurt him. He had no idea why he just did that. Remus, Deceit got interrupted by a dry laugh. Remus's usual smile reappeared on his face, but his eyes were telling a whole different story, and it scared Deceit. The normal crazy eyes filled with life, ideas, and a type of odd, disturbing happiness that somehow softened every time he looked Deceit directly in the eyes were gone. Now they were dull. They were dull ones that didn't show any type of emotion. It reminded Deceit of the one time Remus started hating Roman. The twins had a horrible fight, and Deceit remembered perfectly how sad and betrayed Remus felt afterwards. The man built a wall around him, always having emotionless eyes, not letting anyone close to him. Deceit needed a few weeks to gain his trust again. Even though he wasn't the one that hurt Remus back then, Deceit later found out that Remus was afraid of getting hurt again. Now, he was actually the one who hurt Remus. And at this exact moment, Deceit could have cried over his own stupidity. Chapter 4. After All-Nighter. Remus went to his room. He wanted to cry so badly, but he knew better than that. Emotions made him weak. He once let someone close to him hurt him. Of course, he was stupid enough to not learn from that. Now his best and only friend that he, what a coincidence, had a crush on was the next. He should have known better. He should have known way better. All the little jokes, the funny name-calling. Of course he should have known. Deceit hated him. Why didn't he see that sooner? Why would anyone like him anyways? Remus could simply change his form and appearance, but he wanted to see the mark. He wanted to be able to see how much the world hated him. How much his world hated him. How much Dee hated him. Remus shook his head. No time for grieving. He needed to work on a plan and be useful for once in his life. That's what he did. Remus stayed up all night and worked on his plan. He ignored Deceit's knocking and pleads. He knew he shouldn't trust his words. The times Deceit said he would enjoy Remus's company. Lies, obviously. Remus scolded himself for being so stupid and believed the liar. After an all-nighter, Remus got an idea. If he himself was so hurt by simple words, he could do it again with Thomas. Sure, it was more Virgil's part than intrusive thoughts, but still. The line between these two was thin, so Remus gave it a shot. And if he wouldn't be seen, maybe the light sides would say it's Virgil's fault. Maybe he would even come back to them then. Remus changed into a simple black hoodie. He wasn't going to be seen anyway, so why dress up? The man sunk out and hid in the control base of Thomas's mind. He started talking about betrayal and possibly that his friends aren't his friends, that letting someone close meant to get hurt, and many more. He only stopped when someone entered the base to see why Thomas wasn't feeling well. Of course, it had to be Rowan, but Remus remained calm and simply stared at him from his hiding spot. Roman, not finding anything wrong, went to the real world. He was talking to Thomas. Nope, won't help that man today. Remus used his power to dull Roman's words for Thomas so that all the host could hear was Remus talking. He kept rambling about shit in his life, making it sound like Thomas's own what-if thoughts. To the other side, it looked like Thomas had zoned out until Logan noticed that this must be Remus's doing, so he told Patton and Virgil to calm down since these were simply thoughts and not facts. That did calm the boys down, and sadly, also Thomas, and Virgil was now wondering why these thoughts seemed so different from the normal intrusive thoughts. Maybe he's sad, Patton gasped. What if something bad happened to him? Roman simply rolled his eyes. Nothing could get this dumbass, don't worry. Oh, if you only knew, brother. Remus said it quite bitterly. He totally forgot that Thomas could still hear him before he disappeared. Sadly for him, Thomas alerted the others about the last sentence, successfully confusing and worrying Roman and Patton. Chapter 5. Last Hope. It was a week later that Deceit couldn't do it any longer. Remus completely ignored him, wasn't seen outside his room, and when he heard Remus mumbling through the door, it was harsh. He barely even understood a word, but the tone of it wasn't nice. It was so out of character for Remus to be like that, and Deceit hated it. He knew he couldn't fix his mistake alone, so he did the next best thing he could. He appeared in the Lightside's living room. Of course they were alerted at first, but when Patton saw his face, the dad knew that rivalry had to wait. Deceit, what's wrong? He asked, much to everyone's surprise. Deceit looked to the ground, a little embarrassed for his upcoming request, but mostly ashamed of the reason he was there. I need your help. Roman laughed, thinking this was a joke, until Virgil slapped him lightly on the arm, successfully shutting him up. Yours and Roman's, to be exact. Now the prince was curious. What do you need our help for? He asked. Deceit finally looked up so they could see the tears that were fighting so hard. I fucked up big. So he explained what happened. Not with depression, but how he insulted and slapped Remus. How he was... The suspicion that the man eavesdropped when Deceit was talking to himself about Remus's eyes. When the man started talking about every beautiful, his words not mine, detail of Remus's usual eyes and how destroyed these looked. Penn and Roman, both very well educated in this part, knew Deceit had a thing for the Duke. Why did you say these things if you didn't mean them? Patton asked. He remembered what Thomas had told them a week ago, that Remus seemed in fact pretty sad, and the reaction he had at Roman's comment. Deceit looked down, the floor looking really interesting today. Didn't it? Oh, was that a crumb from a cookie? I tend to swearing about anything on my mind when I'm stressed, and Remus doesn't really leave my mind. Patton and Roman both suppressed a grin at the confirmation of their love for a theory. If we help you, you have to answer us 2 questions, Roman said, as he instantly nodded, not even thinking about it. 1, how much is getting him back important to you? More than anything else. Roman nodded, satisfied. I mean, it was still his brother they were talking about. 2nd, why do you 2 keep tormenting Thomas? Deceit sighed. He knew sooner or later the question would come. But Remus was more important right now. If we don't, someone else will. And believe me, you prefer us doing it than him. Who? Silence. Depression. The 2 light-sized gasped audibly. Deceit sighed. If he were to do it, he couldn't just harm Thomas's thoughts. No, if he'd get strong enough, he could actually kill Thomas, and us with him. Why would he do that? Patton asked, confused and shaky. Because he takes his job way too seriously. We'll help you. Chapter 6. Finally. It's been 2 more weeks. Deceit is trying to get Remus to talk to him so desperately, and it hurts knowing it's his own fault things were now the way they were. He doesn't know that Remus listens to everything he says. He wanted to know that it's the truth, that Deceit really regretted his actions, but deep down he knew that Deceit probably just needed him for a new plan. Roman and Patton sometimes went with him, giving him silent instructions when Deceit didn't know what to say anymore. After a week, he just started repeating everything he had already said. They would often meet up to talk about what he could do, and Patton and Roman tried to ease his mind. It helped a little. Remus knew he couldn't hide away forever, so after those weeks passed, the man decided to leave his room. Deceit heard the cracking of the door and didn't hesitate to run at the man. Remus, not expecting to get tackled with a hug, fell to the floor with Deceit on top of him. Deceit, let me go! Remus had to fight not to hug him back. He wanted to be mad at him so badly, but right now, Deceit was quietly sobbing into his shoulder, mumbling, "I'm sorry," over and over and over again. After a while, Remus couldn't hold it back anymore. He wrapped his arms around Deceit's slightly smaller body and hugged him back. "It's okay," he mumbled. Deceit looked up at him. No, it's not. I didn't want to hurt you. I didn't know why. Just shut up, will you? Remus grumbled, hugging the man tighter. Deceit laughed dryly. Remus closed his eyes and simply enjoyed the moment. Until now, clapping interrupted their long overdue peace. Oh, boo-hoo. How adorable. I'm close to tears. And puking. It was Depression's voice. Remus growled dangerously low, pulling Deceit closer to him while standing up. It was the first time they actually saw him. Depression was a tall, hooded figure. His black cloak reached the ground, and the only thing visible were his piercing orange eyes, with cat-like pupils that seemed to read your soul, ready to shred it to pieces. It's actually hilarious how long it took you two to figure this out. And, at the same time, it's quite sad. I figured if you two would have a little misunderstanding, it would be more entertaining, but here you are. And you still have a week. How disappointing. Deceit stared at the side with sudden realization and a boost of hidden rage. You. That was all your fault. Remus' head snapped to look at Depression. All this time he thought Deceit hated him. It was Depression's doing. Oh, fuck the deal. This bastard's gonna die. Guilty. They couldn't see him, but both sides knew he was smirking. Before Remus could attack him, Depression vanished into the shadows. Thank you so much for listening today. Special announcement before we get to the usual stick. I was featured in a YouTube video with Join In. The link will be in the description below, and maybe I'll put in the card, but it'll be in the description for sure. He did a voice impressions contest, and I went with my Yoshi and Blue impression. There'll also be a timestamp to the point in the video, if you look in the description. So, just check out Join In general. He's a really cool guy, and I really like watching his videos. So, yeah. If you'd like to read the book for yourself, you could click the link in the description along with the link to the author. If you'd like to look at my Wattpad books, that link's going to be in the description below along with all my other social media links like Twitter, Instagram, Discord, Wattpad, AO3, stuff like that. Just all Tumblr too. People like Tumblr. Just all those will be in the description below. If you'd like to submit your own book to read, or just submit a book in general, there's going to be a link in the description for that. Whether it's rated by you or not, I could contact the author and we could see if we could read it. And with that, love you all, stay hydrated, and do your best.